The jailbreak raid has started, and hopefully you saw my level 102 video. This is the 103. This is actually the very first time I have even looked at the target, so we're going to discover it together live and see how much damage this thing does. Just like the previous raid, you are starting inside the cluster of a bunch of walls. That doesn't really matter, and there's only one damaging turret, which is the UAV in here. Go ahead and attack that one, stack all up so that your movement is all together at the same speed and stuff like that, which I didn't wait long enough for them to be stacked up together on. We're going to ignore this strider for now and come back to him later. We're going to hit a more simple part of the target. Starting with the ships, the thing I like to do against these guys is get them triggered, which I can right here, and stop. Charge up your speed buff, and as soon as they're about to hit you, start moving right here. Dead zone from the rockets almost got me. That's pretty annoying. And what you saw there is he shot behind me because I had my speed all the way up. For the missile turrets, this is the guaranteed damage source in this target. You just want to get inside the minimum range as quickly as possible, and you're probably killing this thing in one volley anyway, which is pretty nice. The harder things to kill are maybe the short-range turrets, which you need to outrange very, very closely. There's a short-range version and a medium-range version, which is going to do more range than you, so just something to be aware of here. Alright, let's go ahead and inch just barely closer to the short-range guy. You can outrange them, which is pretty tough to do, but it's possible, as I just showed there. Against the longer range ones, what you want to do is get as close as possible and kill all the distracting buildings. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to move up towards the top, hit the buildings and stuff like that, and then come back towards him. Stop right here, get your combat speed aura all the way up, and then charge inside and loop around a little bit, hopefully avoiding too much of your turn speed loss from that. And he's dead and hopefully didn't do any damage to me. I am using Sea Serpents, which is helpful for the evade from the guaranteed damage targets, as well as the turn speed. It does help you maneuver around a little bit and avoid some of this corrosive damage a little bit more closely. Again, here is one of these turrets you have to outrange very, very carefully. It is pretty tricky, but you can do it. The bottom cluster here has a corrosive guy, not too worried about him because that's just an angular range. We're going to get close here, shoot the gate. The gate, and by the way, these draconian ships do nothing. They're just in there for looks. I told Kixeye that people aren't going to understand what that does, and they left it in here. I got the angular corrosive guy and triggered the Neiman right here is actually the ship. You can call it a prison guard if you like. Wait for him to get close and then start moving. He's going to shoot behind me, which I'm perfectly fine with. There is a longer range corrosive one right here. I'm going to engage it from pretty far down south so that I can get inside the range of this guy and kill him and without the missile shooting at me. If I were to do this from the very top, which you saw earlier, the missile did shoot at me. So let's go ahead and grab him, get inside the minimum range, and that's the missile turret. A few other distracting buildings to kill, but nothing too wild. Now, as you are noticing, the Strider is going to turn around to point at you, and what the Strider essentially does is you charge in, get safe into the inside layer, and charge in a second time. But before we do that, we do have a few other things to worry about. We have these turrets at the top here, which I want to avoid for now, and it looks like if I come in at the south, I can actually charge straight up here and not take any damage from the Strider, which should be pretty nice, because I can just go at the very south, charge up here, get this corrosive turret, and get the Strider, and avoid taking any damage from these guys because they're all on the very north side of the target, and these two off to the top left shouldn't do anything either. Okay, here looks like a good spot. We're going to get close to the outside. This is probably close enough. It could be a little bit closer. And then we're going to simply just click and move forward. He's going to shoot at us, but he's going to miss and land behind us. He does adjust to be very centered on you, which I suppose is kind of nice. Getting a little bit closer to him and killing all the distracting buildings, our next step is going to be to click right where my mouse is and move forward. That should not bring us in range of any turrets, and again, he's going to shoot and hopefully miss behind me each time. Missile turret, not worried about that. I should just take one volley from him. What I am worried about is going to be the corrosive turret here, so I'm just going to get on the very outside and stop. Again, move forward once I have my speed aura built up. There we go, that's that down. Missile turret shooting at me. Maybe I didn't stop quite long enough for that one. Missile turret shooting at me, but I'm inside his minimum range before he shoots again. And there's the corrosive turret. Now this last cluster might actually be the hardest one to deal with because I need to make sure that I'm outranging the short range guy. I suppose I could move all the way around to the left, but instead I'm just going to run directly down this target. I want to outrange the short range one and stay moving against the long range one. So if I were to sort of go directly to the west from here, I'm going to get in range of it. I'll just go ahead and go southwest here, shoot at him a few times. Unfortunately, wasted a volley on that random structure. And the last thing, we should just be able to outrange. Again, very, very close. Actually, a little bit easier from the south than the north, if I recall. Might be the other way around. That's the target for you, first time hitting it, and that should be instant base repair. Let's go ahead and take a look at the damage, the battle report, and the build. Looks like we took a very, very small amount of damage. 4% is the sum of resisted and taken. Penetrative here, 24% sum of resisted and taken. Total repair time is 5 minutes and 55 seconds for the very first time hitting this target, which I have to say is pretty good. I do want that below instant map repair though, which would be pretty nice. I'll have to get lucky on evade a few times, but there you go. First time hitting the target, there's my build. I talked about it a little bit in the level 102 video. 4 ships built up to X1, stuff like that. Unfortunately, again, I can't scrap them or rebuild at U0. I do have 1 countermeasure ship in here, which is sprints, which is pretty nice. If that helped you, go ahead and share it with your alliance so it can help them too. I want to give a huge thank you to the channel members whose names appear on the end screen now. They're helping keep the channel running and are why I can provide things like the build stock. If you find that doc or these videos helpful and want to support, you can click the join button on YouTube. As always, and until next time, this is Derpy signing out, helping you be a better pirate.